Dude, alright. I'm telling you, I don't know what just happened, but this truck just sped by outside, and there were at least 3 people that were just yelling. And I can't tell if it was happy yelling or not happy yelling. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Hope that you're having a wonderful one, a beautiful day, whatever time this video is finding you or you're finding this video. I hope that you're in a good mood. If you don't mind, and I don't think you do, we're going to listen to the Ramones with the Ramones, their self-titled and debut album, 1976. No, that's it. We're not choosing a song. We're going to listen to the whole album. We're going to do the whole thing right here, one sitting, have a little discussion, and so after, as I've been mentioning before, and as you've probably noticed, I've been trying to get into some more punk rock, and this album had been recommended quite a bit. The band had been recommended quite a bit. It's only 30 or so minutes long. It's not even like a long album. So I was like, you know what? Instead of doing this thing piece by piece, let's just go through the whole album. Why not? I got the time today. I've worked a little bit extra on the channel to get videos a little bit more ahead so that I can sit down and like digest a few whole albums, you know? Not a lot. But every once in a while I do want to throw a full, just one and done total album listen in. And I think they'll be more enjoyable that way. I can get kind of a bigger context on everything. And I'm excited to listen to this. So I have not heard anything by the Ramones, except, as far as I know, Blitzkrieg Bop. I've heard that song, and as far as I know, that's the only track that I want to say I've ever heard by Ramones. And I keep on saying the Ramones, but it's just Ramones, so I'm sorry about that. I'll probably say it again at some point. But yeah, we got a nice long track list, but most of the tracks here are like 2 minutes, 1 minute even. Looks like it's about 21 tracks here on the album. So we're going to go ahead and go through these. Here on YouTube, unless you didn't see it already, it's going to be edited here on YouTube, no matter what. From now on, when I'm doing full albums, I'm always going to edit them because it's really annoying, and this does happen quite a bit, when I do like a whole side of an album. But for whatever reason, one song, just one song when I do an album listen is blocked, which makes the whole video blocked, which is a lot of extra work if I have to go back and re-edit it, and it's just really annoying. But as always, you can totally go watch the whole video that we're going to do right now, the whole album. Watch it on Patreon. It's free. The link is down there for everyone. So you don't have to pay to like go there and watch it. You can just go there and watch the full reaction. Or if you're already familiar with the album and such, you can just, watch it here with me right now, listen to it here with me right now, and go from there. So I hope that you guys are kind of excited about this. I'm excited about this. I've been wanting to approach more albums in this manner. I won't be able to do it all the time just because it is a time sink, but I think that it's a sink in which we go down. We pull up a few treasures. I'm hoping to, at least. So I'll probably stop it after maybe every song, maybe maybe I'll let like a few songs play sometimes, but I'll probably talk about each of the tracks on here. So without further ado, I don't know anything about the Ramones, their history or anything like that, but let's just read the first sentence here on Wikipedia. Ramones is the debut studio album of the American punk band The Ramones, released 1976. Let's just hit it the same way that this album hit the crowds, hit the record stores back in those days, and back in that day. Well, I'm assuming there was some press or something, but I'm coming into it pretty much blind. So if you haven't skipped all of this, all my preamble, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Let's listen to some good music. First track, Blitzkrieg Bop. What an opener to their debut album, okay? Like I said, this track I know, so this is not a first listen. But isn't this such a stellar opening? This is the entrance into this album, to this band, their debut. And I think from the first track, you're like, that's awesome. Fast and fun guitars, such fun energy. The switch from the, hey, oh, let's go, into the da 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 ban da ban, like just a fun riff to kind of catch you off guard, to slap you into shape, and then the rolling on the toms, bum 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 ba da bum bum. Okay, he didn't do like the ba da bum, but he just it's just a fun energy throughout here. Let me actually use the band members' names on here. Let me scroll down to the personnel on this one. But I do like that drumming, and I really enjoy the singer here. That's going to be Joey Ramone. Hold on. Joey Ramone, Johnny Ramone, Dee Dee Ramone, Tommy Ramone. Are they all like related? Hold on. Maybe you guys are looking at me like, are you dumb? But are they actually related? Like all of them? I got to read about this. Hold on. Because we're going to learn about the Ramones in this video. All the band members adopted pseudonyms ending with the surname Ramone, although none of them were biologically related. Okay. It says here that they were inspired by Paul McCartney, who would check into hotels as Paul Ramone. Okay, little pseudonym, little secret identity. Okay, I really for a second thought this was like the Jackson family, and it was just a family affair the way that they were all related and such, but no, they're not. Okay, well that makes a little more sense then in that regard, because that was kind of, I thought that was like crazy, to be honest. That was one of those facts that you're like, wow, I definitely didn't know that. But Joey Ramone, I really like his singing. To kind of contrast the light and yet heaviness of the guitar and of the music behind him. From what you guys have said in me getting introduced to punk isn't like one that's known for really being showy or flashy. It's just downright get down on the dance floor, get down on the streets, on the roads, and just have a good time. Spread the message. The message is very important typically with punk music, and I think this song does a great job of launching you straight into that. Let's go over the lyrics on this one, because I ain't got no idea what we're talking about. It says, hey ho, let's go, hey ho, let's go. They're forming in a straight line, they're going through a tight one. The kids are losing their minds, the blitzkrieg bop. They're piling in the back seat, they're generating steam heat, pulsating to the backbeat, the blitzkrieg bop. Hey ho, let's go, shoot 'em in the back now. What they want, I don't know. They're all revved up and ready to go. They're forming a straight line, they're going through a tight wind. The kids are losing their minds, the blitzkrieg bop, piling in the back seat. So, blitzkrieg, we know, was a technique used in World War II. Shoot him in the back now. What they want, I don't know. Is this about, like, the Hitler Youth? The blitzkrieg bop? They're forming in a straight line going through a tight wind. Kids are losing their minds, like the brainwashing that was involved, perhaps. I don't know about the piling in the back seat generating steam heat. Because, honestly, at first, before looking at the lyrics, I heard those lines and I just thought it was like kids making out. But with the shoot 'em in the back now, what they want, I don't know. Piling in the back seat, like, okay, like they're kidnapping the Jews and all the others who were involved, like in the Holocaust, perhaps? Generating steam heat because, well, we don't need to talk about the Holocaust, but we do need to talk about the Holocaust, generating steam heat, burning the bodies and such. They're forming in a straight line going through a tight wind. The kids are losing their mind. The blitzkrieg bop. The line, the kids are losing their mind, could be the kids on both sides of the war. Once again, kind of relating to the brainwashing of the German children with the Hitler Youth. But it could also be the kids losing their mind, the victims of the Holocaust and of the blitzkrieg, of the attacks from Germany at that time. And they're saying like the blitzkrieg bop, like it's a dance, like it's a fashion. And this was, in a sense, a particular fashion at the time. Maybe? Am I kind of, that's what I'm feeling from the lyrics. And they're kind of putting a fun, boppy kind of spin in the music. There's a lot just to talk about on one track. You got a few more to go. But there's so much just to talk about on this one track. I want to see what they actually meant, so I'm scrolling through Wikipedia right now. See if I can find anything. Let's see. Once Dee Dee reviewed the lyrics, the band changed the wording, the name, and partially the theme in talking about rewriting the song. It says the song's original concept was about kids going to a show and having a good time, but the theme became more Nazi-related after its revision. The piece begins, blah, 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 blah. And that's kind of all there is on that end. Okay, so yeah, which makes total sense, and what a cool way to kind of spin the message. Starting out, talking about just kids going to a dance or whatever and having a good time, going to a show, which you still hear that energy there, but then the lyrics are just slightly altered, and all of a sudden it takes on a much deeper meaning. That's really, really good. I like that a lot. Let's go ahead and move ourselves into the next track. I have to scroll up and down and go between windows. It takes me a little bit to pull everything back up. The next track here, you're going to hear my mouse wheel just going crazy, is Beat on the Brat. Let's move on. Short and powerful, each of these tracks. That's what I'm feeling from this. It's going to be just short, quick 1-2s, a little jab, uppercut. I don't know what the combos are. I'm not a fighter. But it's going to be just quick 1-2 punches of music, message, meaning, and everything behind it. Here, listen, I don't know if this whole album is going to be kind of thematic like what we talked about with the last track, but I feel like this one's talking about perhaps domestic abuse. Beat on the brat, beat on the brat, beat on the brat with a baseball bat, which is just really repeated the whole time. What can you do with a brat like that? Always on your back. What can you lose? I feel like it's about beating your kid. And I'm not trying to make a joke out of that. I just think that that's perhaps what it's talking about. Perhaps, I mean, in looking at the punk genre, and I know I keep on talking about the punk genre as a whole, but this is completely new to me, and I need to approach it in a way that I hope I'm coming at it the right way. Taking on serious issues, sometimes giving the music itself a lighter tone. Because, yeah, this is, in a sense, punk heavy and punk energetic, but it's not so heavy. This is kind of light, you know, in its approach. And also something I'm noticing just in these two songs is that in 2 minutes, it's so catchy. Like, the riffs are easily memorable, very catchy. I would imagine, at least so far, these songs, for you guitarists out there, they're probably easy to play, right? Like, there doesn't sound like there's anything complicated on here. But why does it need to be? They don't need to muddle the message in which they're talking about and delivering. So Beat on the Brat, we already kind of read the lyrics because it repeats really the whole time. I'm just imagining it's about domestic abuse or something perhaps related to domestic abuse. I'm going to go back to Wikipedia here, see if we got anything. It says, Beat on the Brat was said by Joey to have origins related to the upper class of New York City. Dee Dee, however, explained that the song was about how Joey saw a mother going after a kid with a bat in his apartment building's lobby and wrote a song about it. Okay, so that we don't have a Lucas situation here necessarily, even though it's interesting. This mom's going after a kid with a bat. I don't know what the kid did to deserve the bat. But I do know one thing. That's one way how you get Batman. Let's go ahead and move on to the next track here, which is going to be Judy is a Punk. You know what? Speaking of Judy is a Punk, I was reading the other day. There was a punk movement, but specifically around girls and women. And I can't remember how I read it. Oh, because I was reading about Kurt Cobain, and I believe his either first or second relationship, I don't know the name, but his partner was involved in this, or they called zine girls or something. I think perhaps magazine writers, but involved in the punk movement or something. I don't remember. Let's move on. Judy is a punk. Let's talk about Judy. I love the fourth wall breaking in the music. The second verse is the same as the first, and the third verse different from the first. I love that. I love when bands incorporate just a little bit of that kind of humor into the music. And I think what I'm kind of capturing so far is that with the Ramones, at least in the songs we've just heard, which I haven't heard a lot, obviously, is they're not afraid to inject a little bit of a comedic touch into their music. I don't know who Jackie and Judy are, but they aren't happy with them. Jackie is a punk, Judy is a runt. They both went down to Berlin, joined the Ice Capades. I don't know what that means. Perhaps they'll die, perhaps they'll die. And instead of changing the music and the verse, they say, second verse, same as the first. Jackie is a punk, Judy is a runt. They both went down to Berlin, joined the Ice Capades. And then later on, they both went down to Frisco, joined the SLA. I don't know what the SLA is, so perhaps we should look that up first. SLA? Service level agreements? What? I don't think that's what the SLA is. Hold on. I had it pulled up here, actually. Looking on Genius, the SLA is the Symbionese Liberation Army, active in California in the mid-70s and best known for kidnapping wealthy young heiress Patricia Hearst. One of the most famous examples of Stockholm Syndrome. Hearst shocked the world by enthusiastically adopting her captor's cause and participating in a bank robbery operation with them. Okay. They're so good at taking these real-world events and messages and history and mixing them with the music in a way that perhaps you had to be there at the time. You know, like, I'm sure, I mean, this apparently happened in the 70s with the Liberation Army, and of course the album released in the 70s. So, obviously they're talking about current events at the time, but to look back at it, just the way that they incorporated the message into the music, I think is very, very nicely written. You know, it's not so overt. It's not, like, beaten over your head. So this Jackie and Judy both went down to Frisco to join the SLA. Perhaps they'll die. Okay. I like the song, though. The songs, they sound similar, but they're still enjoyable all the same. You know, you're still getting that 1-2 punch of everything. It says here that the song's lyrics are fictional and refer to 2 juvenile offenders in Berlin and San Francisco and their possible deaths at the conclusion of the song. Let's move on to the next track here, which is going to be I Want to Be Your Boyfriend. Let's go. What do you say? Do you love me, babe? What can I say? There's no mixed messages on this one. There's no room for friend zoning, you know? There's no room for it. The message is clear. I want to be your boyfriend. Hey. You, me, we got a thing. Okay, this song, it definitely takes a step back. It's much more open. The guitar, I think it keeps the same. Once again, this is a non-guitar speaking. Once again, it kind of keeps that same distortion that, you know, is being played before. Of course, those a little faster, a little heavier. But here, the distortion sounds a lot brighter. It has almost like a little bit more of a romantic sparkle on it. Even the singing is approached more in a wooing fashion rather than a yelling at you, being direct fashion, even though the message, once again, is pretty clear and direct. So I like how, at this point in the album, we've already slowed back, taken a step back, and hit a slightly different approach, but at a similar direct angle. You know, I want to be your boyfriend. And then, what I've noticed throughout these songs is that there's usually only, like, I guess you could call it almost a verse, chorus, A-B songwriting direction. Like, the songs typically, from what I can tell so far, have 2 parts or sections to them. And they just kind of go back and forth. Like I said, like a typical, like, verse, chorus, which they do use here. But the verse and chorus sound different enough. Typically, the drums will change just ever so slightly, whether that's the use of the hi-hat, and then going back to toms and crash, like the drum set is very simply laid out, I can imagine in my mind, and it's played simply. But those little changes make the music more enjoyable and not feel so samey, even though they're played sometimes in a very similar manner. Drum's going to be by Tommy Ramone on here. The lyrics, not much to look into on this one, I don't think. Hey, little girl, I want to be your boyfriend. Sweet little girl, I want to be your boyfriend. Do you love me, babe? What do you say? Do you love me, babe? What can I say? Lyrics repeat from there. Once again, on this particular track, I don't think that there's anything deeper on this one. But for all I know, this could be talking about something completely different. Just looking at Wikipedia on here, it says that this one was written by Joey after he walked by Thorny Croft, an apartment building where all the kids in the neighborhood hung out on the rooftop and drank. Honestly, I thought Thorny Croft was like a name, and I was like, that's a really cool name. The song's lyrics are fictional. Oh, I'm reading the wrong one. I was reading the wrong one before. I'm sorry. I'm reading the information for Judy is a Punk. I'm sorry. Let me come back down. I Want to Be Your Boyfriend. Written by Tommy and pays homage to love songs and pop acts of the 1960s. The song used a 12-string guitar, glockenspiel, and tubular bells? I gotta be honest, I didn't even hear that. There were a glockenspiel and tubular bells. They must have been like way in the back. I did not hear that at all in this track. I'm gonna have to give that another listen. Let's move on into the next song though for now, which is going to be Chainsaw. That's the wrong song. That's it.
But you'll never get that back. She'll never get that back. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay, I would imagine that this is probably just about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think the movie was released by this time. Let me just like verify that fact. That fact, rather. I'm pretty sure this album released 1976. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. 1974, the original came out. You know, I've never seen the original. I've always wanted to see it. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I just never have gotten around to watching that one. Perhaps one day on the movie channel. That'd be a good Halloween movie. Maybe. We'll see. I like how this opens up with the chainsaw, and then even keeping that theme and sound in mind. I can't help but imagine the guitars being very buzzy and sawy and chainsawy in this track. And I'm going to look it up real quick. The lead singer, Joey Ramone, maybe because of the way I'm hearing him from the last song and even here, I wonder, and I would imagine that he's probably a fan of like 60s and 50s music, perhaps even like doo-wop and stuff like that. The harmonies when they came in halfway through on this one reminded me of the Beach Boys a little bit, which is heavily inspired by, you know, barbershop quartets and doo-wop and all that stuff. So I'm actually really curious. I'm going to look it up really quick. If he was like a fan of that type of music, just because even though obviously we're listening to punk music, I can kind of hear that sound in the way that he's singing, especially when those harmonies came in. I really enjoyed that. That was a nice little change. I'm looking through his particular Wikipedia page, and I do see here that he was a fan of the Beatles, the Who, David Bowie, the Stooges, oldies, girl groups. I'm looking to see if there's anything else. I don't see anything, but I guess that would pretty much cover what I was saying. I wanted to see if there was like a specific influence besides the ones that were mentioned that would lead me to that conclusion, but maybe not exactly. The lyrics on this one: sitting here with nothing to do, sitting here thinking only of you, but you'll never get out of there. She'll never get out of there. Sitting here with nothing to do, sitting here thinking only of you. Never get out of here. She'll never get out of here. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They took my baby away from me, but you'll never get out of there. She'll never get out of there. Which repeats. So I'm assuming that this is just talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, or perhaps the events that it's slightly based off of. Once again, I'm not really familiar with the movie. I do believe that I'm sure that the female protagonist is held captive at some point and is trying to escape. I don't know. I'm assuming based off of this. And perhaps he's taking the perspective of Leatherface. Maybe? Let's see if Wikipedia has anything to say about this one, because that's what I got on that one. Influenced by the 1974. I guess I could have just read that. Instead of me digging around and looking everywhere, I guess I could have just read that. But it's more fun to like try and come up with my own thoughts before reading. Chainsaw had the fastest tempo of the album's songs, and according to Rooms, is the most homemade sounding. I'm actually curious about their production end on this, because it's not glamorous at all, which for this genre it doesn't need to be, and I actually like the way that it's approached. Were they in like a proper studio, or did they kind of, I guess, home cook it? In January 1976, the band took a break from their live performances to prepare for recording at Plaza Sound Studio. Sessions began later that month and were completed within a week for $6,400. That's pretty cheap. I mean, maybe that's really expensive at the time, but that's pretty cheap right now, I think. The instruments took 3 days. The vocal parts were recorded in 4 days. In 2004, Leon admitted that they recorded Ramones quickly due to budget restrictions, but also that it was all the time they needed. It worked very well for them, I would say. Let's go ahead and toss ourselves into the next track here on the album, which is going to be Now I Want to Sniff Some Glue. Did anyone ever sniff glue? when they were a kid? Remember the glue stick, the one that was pink? What wasn't that the weirdest thing? Why was the glue pink? Let's go.
All the kids want something to do. All the kids want something to do.
Okay, that one has the tastiest guitar we've had this whole album, I would say. 100%. That little breakdown in the middle as well. Like, all right. All it took was a little bit of glue. No. But hear me out. On the album, most of the songs have had a pretty similar sound. Even this one does, sure. I'm just taking a fourth wall breaking perspective on here, but I do think it's interesting that he's talking about kids sniffing glue and wanting to sniff glue, and then assumedly it happens and the music kind of changes a little bit. Perhaps that glue is a little inspiration. If I had to guess at a deeper meaning on this one, just looking at the lyrics, now I want to sniff some glue, now I want to have something to do. All the kids want to sniff some glue, all the kids want something to do. And then now I have, or now I want to sniff some glue. Just repeats that. I think that sniffing glue was like an issue. I don't know if it still is, or it's still a problem or something in schools. But I remember sniffing glue was like kind of more of a joke. Like, I don't know. I guess kids did it. Some kids even ate the glue. Perhaps he's criticizing like the education system and saying, yeah, kids are sniffing glue because you're not giving them enough to do. You're not teaching them the right things to pay attention, so they're looking for something else to do while you're teaching. I don't know. That's at least like if I'm trying to dig into this song a little bit and try and get something out of it. Or it could just be about sniffing glue. It doesn't have to have some deeper message. Oh, sniffing glue. Okay, let's see what Wikipedia has to say about this one. I hope no one, this is, I guess, Dee Dee saying this. I hope no one thinks we really sniff glue. I stopped when I was 8 years old. Dee Dee also explained that its concept came from the adolescent trauma. After several songs by the Ramones whose titles began with I Don't Want To, Tommy said that Now I Want To, Sniff Some Glue, is the first positive piece on the album. Let's go ahead and move ourselves... That guitar was good, though. Let's go ahead and move ourselves to the next one. I Don't Want to Go Down to the Basement. This is going to be sad, probably. Now we get the bass picking up a little bit.
I don't wanna go. Hey, Romeo.
I love this part. Oh. I like that little cutoff on the end. Okay. Alright, especially coming from someone who was loving that bass. When it was just the guitar and the bass that were kind of leading, and typically the guitar will lead and the bass will follow, and the guitar and the bass are doing pretty much the same thing. You hear the guitar chording over it and the bass going. But just the way that the bass was predominantly sticking out in that moment, oh yeah. So that's going to be Dee Dee Ramone on the bass playing there. And I love the ending. Maybe I'm not the only one, but that bass line is just so satisfying to listen to. And the band probably realized it, but they were like, let's stop it right there. It's like when there's a radio show I listen to. I listen to like a lot of NPR and stuff, by the way. I'll maybe discuss it another time. But there's a radio show I listen to, and when they sign off, they play like random music or whatever. And anytime it gets to like the best part of the song, like, you know, it's the chorus everyone knows or whatever, they cut it off. And I know it's the DJ just like trolling everyone. And my cat just showed up. Where'd my cat? Oh, she's laying down. Oh, that's nice. I'll move over so you guys can see my cat. There you go. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. So cute. Yeah, but that bass line is really fun. I got to be honest, though, I was not paying attention at all to the lyrics on this one. So let's go ahead and read those together, if you don't mind. Hey, Daddy-O, I don't want to go down to the basement. There's something down there I don't want to go. Hey, Romeo, there's something down there. I don't want to go down to the basement. The question is, what's in the basement? Did you guys ever see Babadook? I love Babadook. That is an awesome movie. The scariest scene in that movie is when she falls asleep and she's watching the news report on the TV. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen Babadook, but oh, she's so sleepy. That's the scariest scene there. And then eventually the Babadook is in the basement. Anyways, so what is in the basement? Because this is just being repeated the whole way through. And the lyrics are so, like, what's the word? There's nothing direct in here except the daddy-o and the Romeo. So these are people that are trusted, your daddy. Even though I guess if you say daddy-o, that's like your man, your partner, your guy. Hey, Romeo, your man, your partner, your guy. So people you trust, perhaps telling you to go to the basement, but they're saying, I don't want to go down there. There's something down there. So this could actually be applied to a lot of things, like so many topics, and I'm not even going to try to attempt to interpret it. So let's just see what the band meant when they were writing this particular track here. Let's see. It says that this was inspired by horror movies. The entire text is composed of 3 lines. Yeah, we know that. Asked about the bathroom at CBGD, Debbie Harry remarked, I think that song from the Ramones is partially about that. I don't want to go down to the basement. As kids, we never wanted to go down to the basement because it was so dark and scary. And that toilet was certainly very scary. Okay. Well, I don't know who Debbie Harry is. It looks like she was the vocalist from Blondie. I don't really know them. I guess that's just her interpretation, I guess. But I guess I can see that as well. Just like a general, kids are scared to go down to the basement. Kids are scared to go into dark places. That's pretty normal. You know? And even thinking when I was a kid, oh man, I have so many in the dark and scared of the dark stories as a kid. I could sit here for hours and go through them, but I won't at this particular moment while we're listening to the album. But I was extremely, extremely frightened of the dark. And as a kid, one of my chores was to go to the front of the house and close all the blinds in the windows, like at night. And so obviously it was dark at the time. And I remember I would go. This is kid. I mean, when you're a kid, you know, you have different thoughts. But I would go to the front of the house, which was really dark, and I would jump up to go close the blinds, and I would say something like, I see you, you can't scare me. Can you imagine, like, if my parents heard that? Like, that's the beginning of a horror movie. If a kid is just talking to the dark and saying, I see you, you can't scare me, you better take that kid to a psychologist. Or get a seance ready or something. Let's move on to the next track. By the way, I hope that you're having a good time. Listen, if you've made it this far into the video, then I know you're watching it, and I wish you well. I hope that you're having a good time. If you're in the middle of this video right now on YouTube and you're watching, just put your favorite number in the comments. You can comment like your normal comment, but put your favorite number in the comment. I just want to see how many people actually watch like in the middle of the video. You know, I don't know. There might be like 2 of you. Anyways, let's move on to the next track here, which is going to be Loudmouth, which I've at times been described. I really like the ending of this track here, just when the music changes and the rhythm and the drums change, of course. Is this song just about spousal abuse? Once again, domestic abuse? I don't know. I'm just reading what's on the page here. I'm just reading what's here. I like how the song is talking about someone being a loudmouth, or it could just be about beating up, I don't know, your friend or something. I don't know. I think there's abuse going on here. I like how that song is talking about being a loudmouth, and the way he sings is so like rough and tough and like, I'm gonna beat you up. Like, it's just that kind of like alpha energy that's like, come on, like bring it down. You know what I mean? Like, it's that. So I think he's kind of making fun of people, perhaps specifically abusive men or just abuse in general, like that. Like, why? Shut up. Like, why are you doing that? Why are you being abusive? Why are you being loud? Calm down. Take a walk. Recalibrate yourself or something. And then at the end of the song, when the drums change, I love that. Bum, 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 baka, 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 baka. I would like to say, if I'm digging into the music of this, that the drum change at the end and that little breakdown represents perhaps physical abuse. Because throughout the whole song, the lyrics are repeated. You got a loud mouth, better shut up, I'm going to beat you up. I think that last part represents the punching, the beating up part. That's at least what I think. That's at least where I'm going with this one. It says the song's lyrics are, depending on the reading and punctuation, a single row or 4 very brief lines. Like, I guess you could read the lyrics instead of like a stanza of 4 lines. You could just read it straight. Well, you're a loudmouth baby, you better shut up, I'm going to beat you up. Well, you're a loudmouth baby. I guess so. I guess. Doesn't really change anything reading it, but yeah. Let's move on to the next track. That's going to be Havana Affair. Let's go.
BT boat on the way to better logo. Baby, 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 mama.
Aldo. Never heard nobody.
Safety spot on a Cuban dollar show.
So this track, I would say, definitely is talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis, which I got to be honest, I'm not fully scoped out on, so I'm probably going to miss some details. I'll have to read about it. Just a few things in this particular track that make it stand out. The deep tom, I love that. Boom, just so roomy, so bassy, filling up that space. And then the way that I described it as it sounded like the guitar was being plugged in finally into like a bigger amp. But just the depth with which that change happens in the guitar. It sounds like completely different production. So I don't know how they got that effect. I don't know if, because I don't know anything about studio recording and such. Maybe it was a different pedal, a different effect on the guitar, because it came in so much heavier and with that certain amount of depth, almost moving towards like a proto metal kind of sound. Just sound-wise, not necessarily the way that it was played, but I like that a lot. I really like the tom in that that plugged-in amplifier. And I'm listening to the tracks, and they all pretty much follow a very, very similar pattern, a very set blueprint. Oh, my baby's crying now, but it's the little things in there that make it like a fun listen. You know what you're getting, but there's those little curveballs that are tossed at you that make this engaging, for lack of a better word. Now that my cat is, she's actually over right behind the camera eating. You guys can't see, you may be able to hear, but literally right under and behind my camera tripod is her food and water. You hear her? She's so loud. Let's go ahead and move on to the next track. Oh, no, I didn't even talk about the lyrics. I'm sorry. PT boat on the way to Havana. I used to make a living, man, picking the banana. Now I'm a guide for the CIA. Hooray for the USA. So I would imagine this was perhaps talking about a native Cuban who, used to make a living picking the bananas. But now the CIA has hired or accosted them to help them with the CIA or, some governmental operations. Sent to spy on a Cuban talent show. First stop, Havana Go-Go. I used to make a living, man, picking the banana. Hooray for Havana. Repeats the lines, actually, on the rest of this. So I'm just imagining the CIA using a local to infiltrate some government stuff in Havana. Like a spy game kind of thing going on, right? It says, this track has a lyrical concept incorporating the comic strip Spy vs. Spy by Cuban-born illustrator Antonio Brojillas. Blah, blah, blah. Has the same tempo as Loudmouth. I think I've seen some of the animations of Spy vs. Spy. So it was a comic strip originally. I did not know it was originally a comic strip. Honestly, I in Mad Magazine. Is Mad Magazine the one with that guy or the kid that always like looked funny? Like, my brother used to have a few of those, I think. I never have opened up a Mad Magazine. Let's move on to the next one here. In the album, Listen to My Heart. Let's go.
Next time I listen to my heart, that girl can still be
I gotta say, on this particular track, the thing that's standing out to me is just his pronunciation and his delivery. I almost said deliberation. It's not even a word. Sometimes my mind automatically tries to rhyme things, which is not always a good thing. When he's like, tired of crying, like, just the way that he kind of warbles and goes back and forth on the words. He says, I'm tired of doing this. I'm tired of the mistakes I've made before. He should have listened to his heart. Or maybe listening to his heart is what got him in trouble. This one, honestly, nothing really stood out so much to me except just his delivery. Otherwise, it kind of melts into the rest of this album's fashion. It kind of melts into that same kind of tempo, sound. I like it, but it doesn't stand out as much to me as a few of the other ones on here. Next time I'll listen to my heart. Next time, well, I'll be smart. That girl could still be mine. But I'm tired of the hurt. I'm tired of trying. Tired of the pain. Tired of trying. Tired of crying. He's just tired. Next time I'll listen to my heart. She could have been yours, but something with a little askew here. It says, "Listen to my heart." The first of many Ramones songs to voice an ironic and pessimistic perspective on a failing or failed relationship. Yep. No, I got that part. I definitely got that one very easily. Yep. Should have listened to your heart. Let's move on. This one's going kind of quick, huh? Like it goes quick. There's not a lot to say musically. I think lyrically there's a lot typically involved on some of the songs. Some of the songs are pretty straightforward, like this last one, and some of them there's a little bit of a deeper message in there. So let's move on to the next here in the track. That is going to be, hold on, I'm scrolling. 53rd and 3rd. Let's go.
Standing on the street. 53rd.
Dramatic pause. So, some hooking went wrong. I don't know, but there's some sort of red light, prostitution, something going on over here. I really like that drum pattern. Once again, kind of going back to what I said a while back now. You guys hear that? Was that like a sonic boom, or what kind of big truck just drove by? Okay, that was weird. The whole room like shook. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but that was loud and felt weird. Now I don't even know what I was saying. They're good at making these catchy, quick, in and out punk songs. I've never had In-N-Out Burger, but I would imagine if this was representative of that, it would just be a very quick, nicely delivered, good quality kind of patty. You know, that's what I'm getting from the Ramones so far. And they come up with these little... Typically, they come up with like an interesting aspect in their music, and then they just repeat it. Here, I love that drum pattern. Bunkum, bunkum, bum. Ba-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na, bunkum, bunkum, bum. It's simple, but it's fun. And the way it's played, it's catchy as well. I could see this, I don't know about the Ramones' future, but I could see them almost moving into a more punk pop direction. I don't know what they did later on in their career. I have no idea. But I can see them kind of taking this material and moving forward in their next album, in their next few releases, and kind of refining and defining who they would become in some aspect. I don't know. If you think you can, well, come on, man. I was a Green Beret in Vietnam. I said, no more of your fairy stories, because I got my other worries. 53rd and 3rd, standing on the street. 53rd and 3rd, I'm trying to turn a trick. 53rd and 3rd, you're the one they never pick. 53rd and 3rd, don't it make you feel sick? So at first I thought this was taken from the prostitute's perspective, but I think it's about perhaps soldiers. It mentions Vietnam. Well, he was a Green Beret in Vietnam. Perhaps people, the Joes, the Johns, that's what they're called, who are perhaps awaiting for a hooker to approach them, but they're not getting picked. Because I don't think it's the other way around. The hookers never approach him or them. So it's like, why won't, out of everyone, why won't even a hooker approach me? I got money. I think, like, he's being rejected from everyone kind of thing. Like, everyone's rejected him. And at the end, when apparently it's Dee Dee Ramone who's singing this part, and I really love the roughness of Dee Dee's voice there. Then I took up my razor blade, then I did what God forbade. Now the cops are after me, but I proved I'm no sissy. So I think he's feeling rejected and dejected. I think he's feeling like the prostitutes rejected him. He feels like everyone's rejecting him. And did he murder a prostitute? Or he did something because now the cops are after him. And he thinks in his mind that he's proved himself. Which, you know, no. So let's see if I got close on that. I always read the lyrics first, and then I go to the Wikipedia page to see kind of what's written here. Written solely by Dee Dee, the lyrics concern a male prostitute waiting on the corner of 53rd Street and 3rd Avenue. When the prostitute gets a customer, he kills the customer with a razor to prove he is not a homosexual. I was completely off. I was completely off. He says that the song speaks for itself. Everything I write is autobiographical and written in a very real way. I can't even write. Johnny insisted that the song is about Dee Dee turning tricks. Okay, so I didn't know that this is perhaps in a sense real. I hope the murder part's not real. So I can't comment on that. I hope not. I hope there was no murder actually involved in here. Let's go ahead and move on to the next track here, though. Let's dance. Let's go.
If everyone to take a drive.
See, there's the drums again. Do we have keys now? You have an organ in here. Hold on. They actually included organ in this track in Let's Dance. You guys know I love the rumble and tumble rhythm of the toms. Yeah. You already know that by now. They have organ in here. Since when is there organ? Is there an organist on here, or is this just guest spot? It looks like it's a guest spot, basically. Craig Leon is an American-born record producer. He was instrumental in launching the careers of the Ramones, Suicide, Talking Heads, Blondie. He's playing the pipe organ on this particular track. Huh. I'm not going to lie, I would like to hear a little bit more of that, huh? It's like a little peek of the Stranglers. It's just like, give me a little bit more of that. I like that. Breaking up a little bit of the black and white on this one. Feels good. This one kind of has a similar energy to Blitzkrieg Bop. Just with the shift between and then going into like a more not omni, but one direction riff. Moving forward on this one, but that organ, I would have liked just a little bit of, right? Like they give you a bite and then you're like trying to reach for more of the sandwich. I don't even know what I'm saying. The lyrics on this one, hold on, I'm still on 53rd. Let's get off of that avenue and get to Lit Dance. Hey baby, won't you take a chance? Say that you'll let me have this dance. Well, let's dance. We'll do the twist, the stomp, the mashed potato too. The twist I've heard of, even done on occasion. The stomp, never heard of it, but I can imagine. The mashed potato. I'm going to Google the mashed potato dance. Wow, it's right there. It's right there, huh? The mashed potato dance. I'm sorry, I have to see this video. I can't put it up. I just want to see real quick. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the video, kind of look at it, and I'll do what they're doing. I'm wearing pants. It's okay. So from what I can tell of the mashed potato, it's basically it's like a funky chicken. There's some jumping going on. Okay. And okay. Open, close. This is the mashed potato. You can't see my feet, but... Okay, so I've never heard of the mashed potato, but apparently that was a thing. Let's go. Any old dance that you want to do. But let's dance. Well, let's dance. Then the lyrics repeat. On this one, I'm noticing now. It only took me however many tracks we're in now to notice. But the lyrics repeat a lot. They do one verse, maybe a chorus, And then they just repeat that the whole way through. They're really hitting you hard with the message, whatever they're trying to say. They don't need to be wordy or verbose. They're going to hit you with what they need to say, and that's it. And here, take a chance. Let's dance. You know, it's not going to be like Kate Bush and end up dancing with Hitler. Let's go ahead and move on to the next track on the album. That's going to be I Don't Want to Walk Around With You. Well, don't stop embarrassing them.
I don't wanna go out with you. I don't wanna walk around with you.
Okay, it's going to lead into the next song, actually, it seems like. All right, call me Ivan, but I do like that ooze. Listen, there's only a certain generation of you that'll get that. No, but seriously, I like the ooh, like just a little bit of that punky croon on the end of the word. Yeah, I'm all up for that. And then once again, we get those drums changing into that, which is a pattern that I like. You guys know that by this point. And I do like how they keep on kind of reverting to a similar pattern in different tracks. But I like how that pattern occurs when the lyrics change. Because in the verse, it's just repeating, I don't want to walk around with you. Then the lyrics change to, so why you want to walk around with me? And at that moment, that's when the drums change and the music changes a little bit. So I like it. I like how it's kind of like, you know, I don't want to walk around with you, constantly throwing that out at the other person. And then it becomes, so why do you want to walk around with me? Like, there's this kind of shift in the air, a little bit of a tension break between the two characters, or however many characters are kind of involved right here in this discussion. I like that, though. I like that, and that's really the lyrics on this one. I want to see if there's anything deeper than surface level. To be honest, I kind of doubt it on this one. I don't want to walk around with you, so why do you want to walk around with me? The whole song is really just those two sentences repeated in different places. Let's look at the information on this one. It says that one of the group's earliest compositions, written at the beginning of 1974, it was the opener on their first demo. So there's your fun fact. Let's go ahead and play the very ending of that one and let it lead into the actual last track here on the album. Hope that you've enjoyed listening to the album alongside me. That's going to be Today Your Love, Tomorrow the World. But we're going to let the last few seconds of the previous track here play. So maybe just back myself up there. Let's go.
I don't wanna walk around with you. I don't wanna walk around with you. 1, 2, 3, 4.
There you go.
When I'm shot, you breathe deeper, yes I do. Little swimming boat, being pushed around.
And that's the end of the album. We end it with a little bit of Nazi bashing, which is not a bad thing, from what I can tell. I really like that breakdown at the end. That I liked. And then I liked how, you know, throughout the album we've gotten the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then of course launching into something. Here we got the German variation of that, little Ein Schwein, Ein Schwein, drei. Hold on, it was right there. Ein, zwei, drei, weil. Right? I think that's how you say it. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've watched Cool Runnings. But I like that. This is just a fun, another energetic way to end the album. A little breakdown to, once again, give you something different. I'm curious, though. Before we get into the lyrics, actually, let's talk about the lyrics first, and then we'll round up the album, right? Let's do that. Well, I'm a shock trooper in a stupor. Yes, I am. I'm a Nazi Shotzi. You know I fight for the fatherland. Well, I'm a shock trooper in a stupor. Yes, I am. I'm a Nazi Shotzi. I fight for the fatherland. Little German boy being pushed around. Little German boy in a German town. I just believe he's making fun of Nazis. I believe he's even making fun of Hitler. I think that he's calling Hitler, or perhaps any Nazi, little German boy being pushed around. Someone feeling bullied and feel like, what's the word? They're misunderstood, and they take that anger out in a completely deplorable fashion. I think that's what he's talking about there. And just making fun of Nazis. That's really what I think this one's about. Let's look at the information on this one just to make sure we are on the right path. It refers to the Hitler Youth, or a Hitler Youth member. Seymour Stein complained about its original lyrics. I'm a Nazi baby, I'm a Nazi, yes I am, I'm a Nazi Shotzi, you know I fight for the fatherland. Insisting the track was offensive. When he threatened to remove the track from the album, okay, so it was Seymour the producer? It looks like he is a music executive. I'm assuming that he had some say in the record itself. He said, when he threatened to remove the track from the album, the band put together alternate lyrics. I'm a shock trooper in a stupor, etc., etc., etc. Stein accepted the revision, and it was duly released. Well, it's kind of the same message. it's kind of the same thing being said. And I'm assuming that this is written not from like their point of view, like I'm a Nazi, but they're making fun of Nazis and what they think, perhaps, in some regard. All right, let's talk about the album. I am very, very curious. Let me explain my outlook. I'm very curious between this release, their debut album, and perhaps their next album. How much time passes and what's changed? How quickly were they either pressured by the studio to release another album, or what happened in the interim? Because I would love to hear how their sound evolved. Here, I like the sound. I like that it's quick. It's only a 30-minute album or so, and it's in and out. It's pretty like not flat, but samey in its sound. It's a good sound, but it is pretty samey besides a few little changes here and there. I like the sound, so at least on a first listen, I'm cool with that. But I would like to hear, like, did their sound expand in any way? Did it kind of stay similar? Like, I just want to know if anything changed, and I want to know how long before they put out their next album. I'm just going to look up the Ramones, their discography really quick just to see their next album here. So, the Ramones, 1976, or Ramones, I'm sorry, I told you I was going to keep saying it. And then their next album, Leave Home, was 1977. And I'm just reading a little bit of brief information on the Leave Home page. It says songs on the album were written immediately after the album's, or after the band's first album's writing process, which demonstrated the band's progression. The album had a higher production value and featured faster tempos. I like that. It says the songs, or some tunes, were more pop-oriented. Musical tones began to be more diverse. They focused on different themes. So, I don't know, because this is all I've heard of the Ramones. At this point. But it sounds like the album, their next one, was heading in a good direction and a good progression. You know? I'm just curious about it. I'm just kind of curious about that. I like to hear how bands progress as they move forward, especially starting with their debut album and kind of going from there. You know, in a different timeline, obviously, but how I'm listening to Kate Bush's debut album, even though I've already listened to like some of their later stuff or her later stuff. But you know, it's just nice to get a sense of the beginnings. It's nice to get a sense of that. So this was a fun album to listen to. I would love to know what you guys thought of it. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Was it too samey for you? Did you not like the sound of it in the first place? So it was, you know, you weren't really into it? Or did you enjoy the sound in the first place? And you're like, I want more of that. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know if you enjoyed doing a full album like this, because, like I said, it definitely will not happen all the time. But every once in a while, I would like to incorporate full album listens like this. Instead of the usual track by track by track by track, you know? Even though in a sense, this is still me doing the track by track by track by track, but in one sitting with you guys here. So let me know your thoughts on that, but otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter. You can support the channel on Patreon. Thank you for being here in the first place. There's going to be, I hope, a lot of random numbers in the comments below, but otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.